Well, hello, hello, hello. And how are you? I hope that you're doing well. I have come to a realization and a conclusion, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. Um, when we're talking about a business budget and how much you should spend on certain things, obviously, it is up to every single business owner to decide what they're willing, how much of their budget they are willing to spend on things. Um, but I started looking at what I was charging for content management, and it really wasn't a lot of content management. It was quite literally like I'll help you with your podcast and uploading those things. I'll help you deal with, if you watch the previous video, which I will leave a link to at the end of the video, regarding um, podcast management and transcript management and getting all of that stuff together. I think that all of those things are incredibly valuable and really important, and having somebody who understands how to do those things is really, really helpful. Um, the thing that I am not sure that a lot of these people online who are saying you can make charge people $2,000 for content management. The thing I don't think that they quite comprehend is that $2,000, your hourly wage is going to be lower because people who are at the point where they can reasonably actually pay $1,000, $2,000 a month for that are expecting to be on multiple platforms and repurposing content constantly. They are expecting a considerable amount of engagement, and $2,000 a month is not enough to be considered a full-time employee, not by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but let's say you have a coach or somebody who is um, making $250,000 a year. Okay. And that's a lot for a coach, to be perfectly honest with you. Yes, there are $1 million coaches out there. They are. They're available. Most businesses do not clear more than 30% profit. So at $250,000, a 30% profit would be $75,000. So that is what can either be reinvested into the business or can be the salary of the owner. So your business is grossing $250,000 a year, but you are only taking home 75K. And that's before your taxes. Okay. And let's say this is built as a corporation, you then have a 20% tax on the corporate income. So about $250,000, you're paying 50,000 in taxes. And then and there are ways to tweak that and make that lower, and it's possible that um you're not paying the full $50,000, but you might also be paying that. So, and if you have no if your expenses are considerably low, but let's say on average, the average business pays anywhere from 2% all the way to 15% in marketing and advertising fees. So this includes the person doing the marketing for you. It includes the salary of the person. It includes the marketing physical materials that you get. It includes you spending money on the software. It includes you um, buying ads and paying for ads. It includes a number of things, right? 2% is obviously really, really low as far as like an ads and marketing budget. And when at 250,000, 2% of that is $5,000. And, if all you're doing is making business cards, then sure, that works. But if you're hosting workshops and or handing out flyers or putting out flyers places, if you are doing any of that, on top of having like a Facebook group and then you have a moderator for that Facebook group, all of that is part of your marketing expenses. And could you go as high as 30% on that? Yeah, is that a good idea? Probably not. Um, you're gonna have to make that decision for yourself, but I would feel bad being the person who is knowing what this person is making. And if I were your business manager, I would tell you that depending on how much growth, we could try this for a little while, but if the growth doesn't outpace the expenditure rapidly, I would tell you to cut it. And yeah, yeah. Um, and I was looking on, I Googled this just to see, because I had a number in my head, which was about 10%. And I was shocked when I saw somebody say 2%. I was like, oh boy. And maybe they just meant for the actual advertising costs and the actual marketing materials expense, and then they're putting the actual physical cost of a person in another category. But quite frankly, I think that all kind of wraps into one. It's not going to wrap into one on a profit and loss, but it is going to wrap into one as it relates to if we looked at that expenditure in a different light. I think that it's important to take into account what we're spending on people and what those people are doing for us. And so, in that way, and thinking about whether or not my marketing and the people that I want to work with are going to be in this category of $400,000 or more, because my salary at $2,000 a month, which again isn't enough to pay my bills, um, is $24,000 a year just for that, just for me, myself, and I. Okay. And then so that's a whole thing. And then if you add in the 5% for marketing materials and for ad space, you're looking at an additional 12,500. And so total that turns out to be 36,500, which is 15% of the gross revenue. And let me just tell you that yes, the return on investment would be there, and likely we could grow your income, but that first like 3 years of that or 6 months of that or whatever is going to be really low. And that's assuming that you're already making $250,000 when you hire me. If you're only making $100,000 and you're spending 36.5 on out of 100,000, that's 36.5% of your gross revenue. You haven't paid for an accountant, you haven't paid your taxes, you haven't paid anything else. And I just think that that is irresponsible. Um, and as an individual service provider, while it is none of my business what you're making and what you're spending on your business, as an accountant, like a bookkeeper, or if your accountant were to look at that and go, dude, you, you can't afford what you're doing. Stop it. And I think that that is only responsible as a person. And as much as I would love to do that kind of content management, I think that somebody would be better off finding somebody who isn't nearly as independent, and you would be better off hiring a business manager who can help you manage the content and get the right people on the right job instead of hiring just a content manager. You would be better off spending that money on a business manager who then helps you with a VA, because the business manager is going to do more than just content. They're going to be looking at big business, overall business strategy, and like what should be done next, and getting all of your systems aligned and really, really narrow the focus on what you're doing to make you as profitable as humanly possible while still maintaining the quality that you want within your business. And I think that that right there was an aha for me yesterday, going, oh God, that's a terrible idea. And in good conscience, I can't provide this service to people because I don't believe that it's worth the money that I would need to make it happen. Does that make sense? I really hope it makes sense. I will say that that stuff is incredibly time consuming. So when I sat down, I was like, okay, what does this look like? And how many of these people can I realistically take on every month? And the answer was like two by myself. And then if I had to get a third or a fourth, I needed to be able to build in the ability to hire somebody out and pay them a decent wage and not, having to go to India just because it's cheaper. That doesn't necessarily, it's not the right way to do it. Um, and I also don't believe in paying a non-living wage to people outside the US. I think that that's terrible. And there's a lot of people who will advocate paying $2 an hour for somebody, and I'm telling you, it's slave labor. I've had conversations with people. The Philippines is one of the cheapest places that you can live in the world, and you can quite literally have friends who are moving there and one who is from there. And I asked her, I was like, what is an actual living wage? And I asked him the same question because he has her relatives are working for him. And I'm telling you that $3,000 a month, you can live well, but not, it's not like a king's, you're not living like a king or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not having a car or living in a place of your own. You're not going out to eat and having a really nice life. You're getting by. And so at $2 an hour, it's just not a thing. So anybody who tells you that people can live like that, maybe in super rural areas, but then they don't have the internet access to actually be able to help you with stuff that you need done. And so, yeah, it's slave labor. You're paying for slave labor, which, if you're fine with that, by all means. Personally, my conscience does not allow for that to be a thing. So until I can pay at least 10 to 12, $15 per hour US, it's not a thing. It's not happening. Um, and I refuse to do that to anybody. And I would never pay those wages to somebody inside the US unless they were a college student and this was an internship where I'm heavily supervising them and really they aren't doing anything radically on their own. And that may be something that you might look into too if you are in a situation where you can radically hover over someone and micromanage them to a degree and really kind of look at what they're doing before they put it out. Um, Hiring college kids who are needing an internship, in which case you're providing something for them. You might reach out to their school, or it could be just a private internship as well that you pay them for. And then they can put that on their resume, whatever. But that might be an option if you only can pay $10 to $15 an hour. But I can tell you right now, in the US, you're not getting anybody for less than 20 an hour. And if they're doing work for less than that, And if you are a person who is doing work for less than that, stop it. A, you're worth more than that. B, someone is taking advantage of you. And C, you're bringing down the curve. You cannot make a living wage working for that little money. You just can't. All those people on Upwork need to get their shit together and start actually paying people a living wage. And if they didn't want to, if they wanted to pay that little, they need to hire an employee. Someone who doesn't have to pay 30% of their income in taxes. Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pay employee wages while having a subcontractor, and those two things don't match. They don't. You can pay less money to an employee, but you cannot do that to a subcontractor, and don't allow people to fuck you. That's my soapbox for the day. But my point in all of this is A, I'm going to be removing that service off of my thing. I will quite likely take what I have in there and just repurpose it for something else. And the actual brochure, I'm just going to repurpose that for another something or other. And then the OBM, or maybe I move, because I like the format of that one better, maybe I move all of the documentation for that over onto that template, and then make one probably for bookkeeping. Because to be honest with you, it's probably something I'm gonna have to take a couple more clients on. And that stresses me out, but it'll be okay. Yeah, it'll be okay. It's something I actually do feel quite confident in, and more confident in than some other things. So, that's what we're doing. I just wanted to update you because, like, literally yesterday afternoon, I was sitting there listening to my kid cough, thinking about how in the world, um, what in the world am I doing, and how am I going to market this, and what kind of person am I marketing to? Like, that's how the conversation started to come about. And I wish I had done that before I spent all the time creating the document. And realistically, if you've been here for a while, you know that I started this whole concept back in June. So it is now October 1st, and I am just now realizing that the person that I'd be marketing to would expect far more than I'm offering them. And it's something that you need to think about so that you don't waste several months of your time. That's it. I hope that you have a lovely day. If you are looking for a business manager who can help you with all of this stuff that I just mentioned, I would love to chat with you. I will leave a link to uh, the lead gen form, and you can fill that out and we can have a whole chat. But anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.